And we'll be seeing both our players start off in Link's house to pick up the heart container. We'll be expecting them to make what has become basically the standard route for open mode to go up and check what Uncle has for us.
And a very quick map check from top, and I think I saw a blue pendant desert and a red crystal Hera, but I don't know about East.
Eastern was also a crystal, so there will be 2 pendants over in the Dark World in this race.
Uncle giving us some lunch money, but we're not at school, so...
I would have much preferred to have some more rupees than that before making what is basically the mandatory early trip to Kakariko. Still, that combined with a 5 rupee pool at least gives them something to work on, but Sab0tender is gonna buy some bombs at the Lake Hylia shop. And topplife is gonna favor his 50-50 bomb farming here on these bushes. This is a very old strat, not commonly done anymore. But he got some really good luck there picking up 2 bombs.
And it looks like Sabo is going for the south blue before Kakariko.
This is not a route I'm familiar with at all. Normally, if you buy bombs in that shop, you head on over to Sahasrara Eastern. I'm not familiar at all with this deviation we're seeing here.
Well, I think he's hoping to find flute and or a bottle here to speed up the Kakariko and not have to go back to Kakariko for...
Yeah, that is the most common reason to not go for early Kakariko. On the other hand, well, hitboxes. On the other hand, unless he picks up just the right selection of items here, we're likely going to see a very late Sora check from him, because he's unlikely to have 500 or flippers or anything like that. Well, got some other nice stuff though.
And we find the Moon Pearl and the Cane of Samaria in that.
Yeah, never mind any attempts of even going over to the store area. We're just disregarding that entirely. Disregarding Ice Rod Cave, that is likely going to be his last occasion because he seems to be making a trip all the way over to Aeginas. I haven't really said too much about topplife because this Kakariko has been pretty empty so far.
And there are the gloves, and a lot of bombs in Kakariko as well.
And the most common follow-up to those gloves tends to be just checking the back of escape. The silvers in that position will indicate that both our players will be having those, so no silver versus silverless advantage for our players here.
Well, we can go to Death Mountain, and we have the first sword. Kakariko is a bit late with the items, but it is there.
Yeah, but at this point also when you're seeing seeing that Aga 1 is in logic, whoa dear.
Well, also with the items we found, it's only one item, either the hammer or Titans, away from finding Dark World access.
Oh, and Sab0tender picks up the bottle there in Sanctuary. Toplife's not been there yet, so if that is anything important, he has to make another trip back there later. It's quite uncommon to see such valuable items, like bottle valuable, but at this point early on, because of the early Kakarikos, it's quite valuable. And when you are taking this, like they call it the reverse path to Kakariko via Link's house, you tend to go up, check Lumberjack, and if you do have the necessary requirements, you then go up Death Mountain. But Top Life is just completely forgoing the Lumberjack check here to head up to Death Mountain. And this is basically his only real opportunity to make that check, so because of that, it is very likely that he's not going to come back there until after he's done Area 1 and has the boots, if it turns out to be something there, that is.
And saving and quitting and not checking out top of the mountain. Interesting choice.
Yeah, he just wanted that save quit point up there. Wasn't really interested in anything more. But you're dedicating a lot of time to go up there just for that point, just to get that one item there. But we're not gonna see this back of escape, which is the main destination following the early gloves. But we're definitely seeing some unorthodox routes from both of the players here. Neither of them just went to Sanctuary after the Uncle check, which is the standard thing. And we are going to see a Midst Dark World seed here in due time. We know it, but the players don't know it just yet.
So we have Dark World access now, but yeah, Aga's dead, right?
Not quite. There's still the Lumberjack, and then there is still the right side of the Dark World, which they will need Flippers or Hammer in order to access. There's also some limited potential for the Hammer to be at Pyramid Ferry, which basically never happens. But until we see Hammer or Flippers, we can't really count out Aga 1 just yet. Now, if you do know a certain bomb jump, you can head on over to the right side. You can also use Fairy Revival, I also think, but I'm not quite sure on the mechanics behind it. I am expecting Top Life here to head on all the way over to Ice Rod Cave and not opting for the Aegina check at all here. He's gonna get the Dark Pole access in here. Maybe with that he may not even opt to check Ice Rod Cave, since he's not gonna have enough rupees for a sword trip anyway with fake flippers.
And this mini Moldorm cave will be quite a bit faster from Top Life here because he has the sport.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case, allowing him to just finish them off quicker and preserve some of those bombs. And yeah, he is gonna skip Ice Rod Cave, and it does seem like he may be cutting corners a little bit here, similar to Sab0tender. We will be seeing Top Life heading over into the Dark World here. We'll also be checking Sick Kid for the bottle. Sab0tender will get the mitts. We'll see what occurs after that. There's definitely a lot of early locations that are still available. Aegina, Ice Rod Cave, Sahasrara Eastern. There's still one more check up on Death Mountain that we don't know about. But Dark World is where most of the items are. They're also surprisingly healthy this early on, sitting at 7-8 hearts apiece, heading in here, still only with green mail. But one of the main concerns with this portal into the Dark World, as we're seeing Green Pennant, Turtle Rock, and a Pennant over in Palace of Darkness, is that you enter a very linear route. You just don't have that many options to go anywhere, because this is your only entrance. And of course, even with this being a crystal in Thieves Town, you don't have the hammer, so there's a genuine risk that there's still one item left there. Regardless of what Toplife is at least making in this full dip, almost certainly it's very unlikely that he'll be leaving after the first 4 checks since this is a crystal. And we are seeing slight route deviation here since Sab0tender is checking all the 3 Village of Outcast checks before even making anything that looks like a trip into Thieves Town, which is at least indicative that he's looking for something more before going in, whereas Toplife just decided to go in. He doesn't care at all about where the hammer could be, whereas Sab0tender, he cares a little bit more about it. And Thieves Town will also provide our players with the first hint, which has a tendency of not being very useful, but those few times it's useful, they will gladly appreciate that.
Oh, book in desert, so that means that we have desert access through the Dark World with the flute and mirror.
Yeah, but the flute may not... Well, the flute is needed for Mire, and the mirror is needed for Swamp, but the book may still not be needed for anything, really, but it seems like it's gonna be very late into the seed. Because that's essentially the sea telling you there's a fetch quest in Desert Palace, and don't really want to deal with fetch quests that late, and especially not ones like Ether Tablet that they will almost certainly be up on Death Mountain prior to that, and that will be far off, and the Bombos Tablet is a very tricky location to route in unless you're coming out of Swamp or delivering over the purple chest. Well, there's our 4th item, so there is nothing in the big chest, and it's actually, in fact, the small key that is located there, and as an extremely unfortunate death for Toplife, he has to go all the way back there into the basement in order to get the maiden to follow him again, in order to beat Blind. And we're gonna look at possibilities here following this Thieves Town. Skull Woods is still open for a couple of items. They don't have the Fire Rod to beat it. They can go southwards and make a Smithless tour, I guess you can call it, down to Hype Cave or whatever you want to call that cave nowadays, since it doesn't tend to be very hype. But then that will come to an end because there's no Flipper and no Hammer to continue eastwards. There's no Bombos Tablet. They could enter spawn palaces to check the hint. If they want to try and do the bomb jump over to east side, that is done up at the graveyard area. And they can't do anything up there. They can't check graveyard ledge. They can check bumper cave to see what item is there, but they can't get the item. So there aren't really that many opportunities for players and not many locations for them to check. topplife still has to play very careful here as Sab0tender is coming into the blind fight, get the first cycle down. topplife using the red potion just to be safe. And that was a really good fight for Sab0tender. Will be picking up his first crystal with that and some bombs. Actually, that was the final item. I'm apparently blind, but the small key is still in the big chest, so no hammer required for that. We could see a super long mirrorless smith chain, which is very time consuming and not very fun, and the second you pick up the mirror you just want to punch a wall or something. That hurts your hand and then you don't want to keep on playing the game because your hand hurts. topplife also takes down blind and will be able to pick up his first crystal with that. Another thing is also, if you look at the rupee count here, it's actually extremely low. It costs 80 to do this digging game. So even if they would sequence break over to the east side, they can't get into Palace of Darkness in the first place. Yes, 20 rupees from the digging. topplife is finishing off the Village of Outcast checks.
26 digs as well, so that's a really long time just for 20 bucks.
It certainly adds insult to injury.
For a second I thought you said that certainly adds salt to your injury, and I was like, wait, that does hurt, yeah, but I was also thinking that isn't the saying, right?
I can't even remember what I just said, words just come out of my mouth, that's how it works. We are seeing Sab0tender here come through with the mirrorless smith chain. It's gonna be a long tour bringing the frog along for a nice workout. And with these limited options and with how long it takes for them to get into the Dark World, because their only portal is in Kakariko and they don't have boots or flute or anything like that to quickly get there, doesn't seem like they really have anything else to do. They need to basically finish this off, and then if they still don't have anything, it's time for some more light world checks. And that's likely Sahasrara Eastern for topplife and likely Death Mountain for Sab0tender, unless Hype Cave delivers. Well, the powder doesn't unlock anything yet.
Oh, there's the flippers. That's something much needed.
Yeah, the flippers will basically kill Aga 1. Aga 1 is officially dead. They do have the east side access now because of the flippers, and the hammer cannot be a Pyramid Fairy. So we'll also be bringing the frog for some swimming as well. Which leads me to believe that Sab0tender may go all the way over to Catfish. Now he could make a little weird exchange and trade the frog for a monkey and go to Palace of Darkness. But he's not interested in a trade today. Now, just another point here, we will have guaranteed Tempered Sword Silver for Ganon, so that's going to be a pretty straightforward fight for our players.
And just 10 arrows on the pyramid, so they won't be going back for that.
No, most certainly not. So I'm interested in seeing if Toplife is gonna make the same call here to do a Pyramid Catfish, or making the play into Palace of Darkness instead. It is a pendant, but he did use his potion, so he can't use the Bolo Glitch on right side. Now there's this other weird scrolling glitch or whatever it's called you can do to get through that room, but it's quite time consuming.
And it does look like Toplife is going for it. He has the money needed for it, plus some extra for Zora, so he won't be needing more money anytime soon.
That's absolutely correct. Nice hype cave there, providing 400 rupees on top of the sword, powder, and flippers. Surprisingly, a very nice cave for them in the end, especially if Zora turns out to have something. Sab0 will bring the Smith home. Toplife making trip into Palace of Darkness, and if there is something here in Palace of Darkness, it's gonna take a long time for Sab0tender to walk all the way over there through the Dark World. And all that walking, he's not gonna be able to do any other check along the way, because he's done everything. Well, we're going deeper into pod.
And even more money for bringing back the Smith to his house.
Yeah, Sab0tender now has all the rupees he will need unless he would like to buy some blue potions at the end. He has Zora, he has Palace of Darkness. It looks like he will be doing the flippers checks now. Well, Toplife has acquired 2 small keys so far in these first couple of checks. Well, I'm not sure what that shovel is gonna do just yet. Never
And we
mind
find
there.
the bow.
Oh, that's a fantastic pickup for Sab0tender, obviously required. I wouldn't be surprised if he may abandon the Flipper Tour, just going to Eastern and beat it. And there's a unique item in the Hera basement?
That's a very good hint to have.
Indeed, but this could also be a very late heresy. There is no mirror, there is no hookshot hammer combination yet, so they still don't have access to that. And because that hint is in pen and pod, Sab0tender may not go there in the first place and may never get that information and may opt to not visit it. Remember, well, there's a mirror. Remember, neither player went to Ice Rod Cave and just skipped out on that, but Sab0tender now has that Tower of Hera access. Oh, wait, hookshot in pod? That's significant, because that's also required. We have 2 players on completely different routes, both getting paid off for their calls. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a wild race.
But I feel like Toplife will go to Waterfall Cave faster than Sab0 would go to Pendant Pod.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those locations that you will be checking later, unless Sab0tender decides to do Eastern, and then with a mirror setup going to pod here. He's at least going to check Sahaswala first, though. And the big key in pod is bow locked, but we know that's in logic because we know where the bow is. The top life will be using the hookshot to go to the right side of the Death Mountain. And I don't think it's very surprising to see the back of Sahasrahla having nothing at this point with the items that he just picked up. Oh yeah, that's right. Sab0tender still doesn't have the hammer. I'm too used to the hammer. So Sab0tender can't set up Eastern Pod here, so he will be leaving Pod for a long time, and I can't really expect him to go back and check that until he has Flute or something like that. Unless the Flute is hookshot locked, which is a possibility. It's a very nice half magic picked up by Top Life. An early key. Well, there's the hammer, so the hammer requires the hookshot. So Sab0tender, he needs to go to Pod at some point, and not too distant future, but who knows, if he decides to make the calls over to Ice Rod Cave and locations like that, back of escape is still an option for both the players. It could take a long time for him to get to Palace of Darkness. And he has to make the entire walk in the Dark World to do so.
But on the other hand, hammer being hookshot locked means he will go to pod faster than if it wasn't.
Well, you will need the hookshot to get the hammer, because in order to get to the right side of Death Mountain, you need the hookshot or the hammer, obviously. And it's that massive trip in the Dark World that you will have to walk in order to get there. And Top Life also knows here that there's a unique item in the basement, so the question is he going there right now? Or is he gonna go and beat Moldor first? Purple Chest, meanwhile, is dead. And also, Pyramid Fairy is also dead. Well, we have a flute in Eastern? That's a Sphere 1 flute? What's going on in this seed? Okay, let's bring all the items together. What are we looking for? Fire Rod and the medallion to Meyer? I think we found everything else.
We might need, if we go for other items, we might need situational. We might need Burna or the cape for Bumberleg.
There is potential for things like that behind Fetch. There's also the theoretical Ganon's Tower Big Key on Torch, which will require boots. But in terms of actual items to beat the Seeds, it's just a medallion and the Fire Rod at 30 minutes. Meanwhile, Sab0tender killed the boss. It's kind of dead. And, hopefully Top Life will have just as easy fight here. And there is that unique item in the basement. It could be the boots hint that refers to the unique item in the basement. That'd be a big pickup for him. We are going to see Sab0tender go ahead and activate the flute. It's the most logical course of action following that. Top Life will be spending his time in the basement. Now, Sab0tender will get the information about this basement because he has to go and do Palace of Darkness at some point, and he will do that with the bow, so he will be able to dig a little bit deeper for that. Sab0tender just waiting for things to happen. Unfortunately, can't catch the duck and can't eat it, but I guess we will cook it when the seed is over. While topplife is just waiting for something to happen in this room. I expect Sab0tender to actually not go into the Dark World. Where is he? Is he going all the way over to Pod? Because normally when you get the flute, your option is to immediately go to Mire and check what's there. Especially in a seed like this where it's a crystal, and you will be able to find out which medallion you need for that. Well, there's our first medallion there in the basement of Hera. Sab0tender will start off by checking Magic Bat here with the newfound powder, or the rather late powder. All in logic, it's one check, could be something important, we don't know. Still don't know what that shovel is either, that was also in Pod. But Sab is not bringing out the flutes, I imagine he will be doing the Mire check now. And with the way topplife has routed this, can do Spiral Cave to head down to the bottom side of the right side of Death Mountain. That was a mouthful, and then he'll be able to go into the Dark World following that. Sab0tender will also be able to pick up the book here in Desert, will likely do that while he is here. We'll be seeing the medallion here from Mire. It is Ether, so we're still looking for a medallion. But at this point, we're just looking for Ether and Fire Rod to have all the necessary information for all of the medallion dungeons. Crystal dungeons, not medallions. We're looking for a medallion to get the crystal.
So, thinking about it, what could be on pedestal right now? It could be the Ether if Turtle Rock doesn't require Ether, but that's it, I guess.
Yeah, that's the only potential item that can be there. The Fire Rod can't be there because you need a Fire Rod to beat Turtle Rock. We also see Sab0tender just skipping out the hint there in the desert. And also seeing that the dungeon is in fact boots locked, so you will need boots to get the book. Just like in the original game. Sab0tender does have one more check to do here before he has to take his sleeve. Meanwhile, topplife will be able to finish off here with Hookshot Cave and likely checking the medallion for Turtle Rock just in case. Well, there's the boots, so I guess now you can go get the book. And now the Fire Rod can be in Ice Palace. I am certain our players will be very happy to know that. And it's Vanilla Quake and Vanilla Ether this seed.
Sabo immediately going back for that key, so I guess he really wants that book.
Well, we also know that the Mr. Mire Big Key is locked behind fire, so they will be going left side then, guaranteed. It's a very useful hint to speed up the Mire process.
And topplife is going to get his bow right now.
And it's gonna be a fantastic pickup for him. He looks like he's in a very good position, and if he just keeps on going with the flippers here, he'll be able to get his mirror as well. We'll do it Eastern almost certainly after that. We'll give him the flute. We'll head on over to the mire area, get the boots. And Swamp will be fully in logic. Ice Palace is fully in logic. There's Sab0tender there with the book.
And I think that was all the items in Desert, so I don't think they'll be completing it unless pedestal is required, which is very slim chance.
Yeah, even then, going to kill a boss just for one item isn't really a high priority, especially in a dungeon where, like Desert, it's a good way to walk there, and it's a bit out there compared to the rest of the checks in the dungeon. There we go, Topplife picking up his mirror. But he is skipping Sora today. He is not interested in paying that at all. And he will be making his trip into Ice Palace. There's a lot of hints in here, but this is a long dungeon to beat, especially if you're gonna be running bombos through it. And that's the boots hint right there. So I guess we all know where Topplife is going after this. Well, he needs the flute for that first, and that's over in Eastern. Once he finds the flute, we know where he's going. And Sab0tender has dug a little bit deeper into the logic here with this book to check Ether Tablet, possibly for something that is very much required. We are in fire mode for no mode here on the audience side.
Oh wow. Just wow.
And the fire rod can be anywhere, really. It can be in any of the remaining dungeons, including the pendant dungeons. There's a ton of overworld locations. It could just as well be in Skullwoods. We have no idea where that is.
Although there could be only 4 locations, I think, in Turtle Rock that the fire rod can be in. And you need a key in the very first and a second chest at the very least.
Ether is on a tablet. Topplife gets the hint. He knows where that is. Wow, there's some really good hints in Ice Palace for him. If right side of Turtle Rock has something like map and compass locked behind the fire rod, potentially fire rod could be on Laser Bridge. I mean, Topplife just got information about 2 items that are very much valuable. One needed, the other one maybe not, but you're not saying no to boots.
Well, he doesn't necessarily know it's boots just yet.
No, he doesn't, but he will almost certainly go and check it out. Because at that point, it seems like the only item he'll be missing is the fire rod, and that could just as well be the fire rod hint. And of course, we have to throw in a garbage hint just because. Now, Sab still has to make this super long Dark World trip to pick up the hammer. All the way over in Palace of Darkness. Or a hook shot in order to get the hammer. I mean, well, as he did finish up Moldorm there for his 3rd crystal. There is still a lot of early checks that we don't know about, like Back of Escape, like Lumberjack, Ice Rod Cave. And I have not kept track of the number of items Top Life has acquired in Ice. But Swamp still has 6 items. We do know for sure that the Trinex cannot hold the progression, so it can't be a green pennant either. Still don't know what that shovel in Palace of Darkness is going to bring us. Also, there's something I can't think of right now, but I guess it made sense for a sentence. Sab0 gets his Quake that might not be needed. There's our second bottle in Ice Palace.
And it looks like Sab0 is going for Meyer play.
Yeah, for him this is a dungeon he can full clear and not going to be the hardest of dungeons, even with green mail.
It's gonna be annoying, but it's possible.
Yeah, he has the hint information, I believe. He was the one who picked that up. And he will have silver arrows for the boss fight. Unfortunately for Top Life does not get that first spin onto Cold Stare, so this is going to be a really tricky fight for him. He has no defensive items, no bottle, no invulnerability. It's gonna be rough. He's playing this very safe and very cautious, and one Cold Stare beat something. I don't know the plural for a Cold Stare, and I don't really know the singular. I don't know how that works, but I do know what works, and that is killing Cold Stare by spinning your sword, and that's what Top Life has done.
I usually call those eye thingies puffs. So all 3 puffs are down.
And the small key confirms that this was a King of Samaria locked. Not that that really mattered considering how early they got that.
It was as if the sea just threw items at them, like, here, just finish this, I don't want you to play.
And Top Life here with some inspiring routing. Ice Palace into Eastern Palace. We'll get the flute with that and put him in a fantastic position. Meanwhile, Sab0 is picking up keys. And this seed is basically the result of a massive routing diversion earlier when Sab0tender went Pyramid Catfish and Top Life opted for Pod, he got the hookshot locked the hammer. And, well, that's basically the story of the seed so far.
And Sab0 is making the very heads-up play of remembering the hint that just said the Meyer big key and some cash on left side fire-locked. So he leaves the cash behind.
Yeah, there's no reason to pick up that cash. He has everything he needs, but still looking for an item here. Well, that was really close for him to get to the bridge in time. And I feel like that means that there's going to be an item on the boss. Unless... oh, actually, he skipped this chest here. Okay, blue mail. So Meyer is empty in terms of Fire Rod. Sab0tender using the powder there on a fairy to get himself back to full health again. No rods for Sab0tender, no rods, no spooky, so he just has to do this the good old standard way. And yeah, you can't bonk that, you need a bomb. And this is also a big key in the first chest of Eastern Palace into all 3 items in a row. And Sab0tender is showing how simple this fight is with silver arrows. He just needs 2 more.
And one boss fight is just finishing up as the other is about to come up, so that's nice for the viewers.
And Sab0tender now with 4 crystals, topplife will soon be on 4 himself. But Sab0tender here is running out of some options, doesn't really have that many to choose from. He's going to save and quit, which seems to indicate that he is going to Sanctuary. Or maybe not, yeah, Sanctuary, yeah. Meanwhile, topplife has killed the boss, so it kinda happened. Oh, Sabo is quite indecisive here on what he wants to do. But he is going into the Dark World. And topplife is going to go ahead and activate the flute. So Samber will be able to do King's Tome and Graveyard Ledge here, which could have the progression that he's looking for. He's also gonna check Bumper Cave. And we're finally gonna learn if Haga 1 is dead or not.
If this is Fire Rod, I wouldn't have words.
Well, if this is Fire Rod, we have all the information that we will ever need, but there is just 20 rupees there, so that won't matter. Sab0tender will go back into the Dark World, and topplife will be making his trip over to the Mire area, almost certainly. He's gonna see that it's Ether, he knows about the Ether hint, he knows about the Checkerboard Cave hint as well. So topplife won't be able to get into Mire yet, he will be able to know. So I'm trying to think of the best location for the Fire Rod for Sab0tender, and I'm thinking Helmasaur King. Because I can't really see topplife go back into Pod.
Yeah, he entered without the bow at first, so he has cleared a lot of it, but not fully, so it could be there, but it's... yeah, that would be really annoying for top.
Well, the bow required flippers, and flippers were in Hype Cave, so you can, and Sab0tender will be able to do it, and be able to do Palace of Darkness in just 1 trip. Which is really fascinating, because this seed is a little bit all over the place, considering how straightforward it actually is. Sab0tender still also has the Bag of Escape, let's not forget about that. They both have Ice Rod Cave. Why do I keep on forgetting and saying that the hammer is in pod when it's the hookshot and the hookshot is needed for the hammer? I guess I've watched too many hammer in pod seeds.
Well, I guess you could say it's indirectly in pod, as you need the hookshot for the hammer.
Yeah, it's certainly a situation. But from how Sabo is routing this, I can't really see him do anything else here apart from these two other mirror locations south of Grove here and Bumble's Tablet. Well, we're in no mode. This is a seed.
The question is, how long will it take for topplife to jack K45?
Yeah, that's the question. So, the mirror was at the Sora Ferry, and flippers were in Hype Cave. Like, how are you intended to route the seed? I have no idea. But Sab0tender needs to go to pod, and topplife, who is going to be and is basically in firewall mode because he knows where that the ether is in one of two different spots, and he'll be able to get the book soon. When is he gonna go to that cave? Likely with Bumble's Tablet check. That's not needed, but okay.
It is interesting that topplife has sacrificed the Desert Palace the boss for a key, but he's going to get the boots now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all for him. And Sab0tender is going to do Skull Woods, which very much makes sense for him right now. And he has the boots, he has the book, he knows that he needs ether, and knows that it's in one of two different spots. And he's gonna start with Bumble's Tablet. He's likely gonna make Swamp Palace with this, but he just goes a little bit out of the way to K45 here. He's gonna get that Fire Rod and realize that he's in go mode. But he may also go ahead and do a full clear of Swamp, left side included. And it still follows through with the same logic. I can full clear this dungeon, let's full clear this dungeon, and then after that I can go check Bumble's Tablet and maybe get the 50-50 there. As long as it doesn't, like, go into Turtle Rock after he picks up the ether at Ether Tablet. It's a pretty straightforward Mothula fight for Sab0tender. And when you think about it, this seed has been pretty fair in terms of where it's put the locations and in terms of these hints that they've been given, but the items are in very awkward locations for your progression. Like, you pick up the flippers in Hype Cave, but then you need to go back to the Light World in order to get the mirror, and then you need to go back into the Dark World in order to get the Fire Rod. And meanwhile, the flute was just sitting Sphere 1 in Eastern Palace, ready to be picked up.
And Sabo checking the pedestal, which we know it has nothing of value.
Yeah, from his perspective, the hook shot could be there, but not really. The thing is, Sab0tender is hitting the 1 hour mark and he still doesn't have the hammer. He's likely thinking like, where is this dumb thing, come on.
Well, I think he's gonna try clearing he might try clearing ice before going into.
Well, Sab0tender can't. Well, he can do ice with Fire Rod, but with no hammer and no hookshot, he is very limited in how much he can do there. You can't beat the boss, and you really wouldn't want to double dip a Crystal Dungeon. You really don't want to double dip Ice Palace of all dungeons. But it wouldn't be the first time the hammer is in Ice Palace, but this is not one of these seeds. Meanwhile, topplife did not go to the left side, so he may opt to not go there at all, but he will go back and check the big chest. But I think that Sab0tender will be going to Palace of Darkness now.
This will be great for him.
Well, it's either that or he's going ice, but I have a sneaking suspicion he is going into pod. That will give him the hookshot, that will give him the hammer. And that will put him in go mode. Meanwhile, topplife needs to check that one cave that he's very close to, and that will put him in go mode.
While he also needs the Ether medallion from the Ether tablet.
Yeah, but he does have the hint. He will be checking Bombo's tablet after Swamp here and get the 50-50, and then when he sees it's not there, he knows it's up on the Ether tablet. And if he just goes a little bit out of his way to check the South Grove Cave, K45, whatever you want to call it, gets the Fire Rod, and he knows he's in go mode. That's how close he is. Oh, and some nice dashing here from topplife, getting some nice early kills on the puffs.
Having Tempered Sword there is really useful.
A very nice little arrow to finish off the fight. So topplife will go and get the meaningless Ice Rod on Bombo's tablet, 99% certain. That is just a question of where he's going after that. Meanwhile, Sab0tender, we're just waiting for him to get a hookshot here. And then see if he keeps on going or not, because if he goes to Helmasaur King, that's a lot of time he's gonna lose on that. Actually, he can't go there, he's just looking for the hammer for go mode. Yeah, he's locked out, so he can't go Helmasaur King. That's a flute. Where are you fluting, topplife? 1 or 4? That's a 1. So you will get the ether. Here's the question though, is he going to go into Turtle Rock after this? Because he can do Mire fully, and that seems like a better option for him, but on the other hand, it takes such a long time to climb. And if he feels like it is in Turtle Rock, this is his only time to go there. Also, he still hasn't checked the inside of Spectacle Rock because he didn't do that earlier. placed a boss key and a small key over on the right side of Palace of Darkness. And remember, Spy Cave is still not in logic. No invulnerability item. We are gonna see Toplife head on over into Mire. Now, the thing is that as long as Sab0tender doesn't decide to make some, he can't even make that. I guess he can. Like, he can go into Swamp and hope that the hammer's in the first chest. Unless he does something crazy like that, he's gonna be able to go mode Swamp Palace here. But he knows he's hammer for go mode, and that's actually a pretty good feeling to have because of how much the hammer locks. And he has a lot of checks up on Death Mountain and Dark Death Mountain, and that's where it is. And that will allow him to go mode both Swamp and Ice. Or he makes the call to go into either of those dungeons, neither of which he can full clear. Which doesn't seem like a call you'd make. So all things considering, Sab0tender is in a great position here.
I'd like to say that Swamp to Ice the better play than Ice to Swamp. As can just, yeah, for both you need light wall to enter, basically.
I mean, it doesn't matter for Sab0tender because Hammer is the one item he needs for go mode. He can't beat either dungeon. He has all those items up on Death Mountain. He's gonna be in go mode in about a minute. Meanwhile, Toplife has to go back to K45 of all spots. And remember, there's still Ice Rod Cave, there's still the Front of Escape that's available. Still haven't checked those locations, either player.
And if you're Toplife, you are really hoping it isn't on Aegina.
Also hoping that it isn't on something like Catfish that's really far off. I think Toplife checked Aegina, or maybe he just skipped that. On the other hand, it's not the worst check to do with the flute. As he gets his blue mail, Sab0tender will get his go mode. And that's a weird feeling, being in Paradox Cave and entering go mode.
And he didn't check any of the other chests, so he won't be getting his half magic.
Yeah, that's gonna be the only real advantage here for Toplife. Sabo may feel like he could be behind the seed because he did make that big trip up to Catfish and did a Smith chain for nothing instead of just going over to Pod. But he's just gonna rush down these two dungeons as fast as possible, and these are two very fast go mode dungeons.
Also fun to point out, neither of them have found a shield yet.
Yeah, no shields, no invulnerability items. Like, the seed has really told them, don't go Turtle Rock, and they haven't done that. You'll be able to see how fast this Swamp Palace is going to be for Sab0tender. Now, Top Life will also have silver arrows for the Vitreous boss fight, so it will be a very quick fight for him as well.
And
Yes,
Top Life is on the very quick boss.
Yeah, Vitreous falls, and with that the only thing left is Skull Woods, but it's in a location that is a little bit weird for him to check, and considering his other options, it may take him some time to go there. If he goes there right now, this is going to be a very close race. So where is he fluting? That's the big question here. This is Shovel? Or... I feel like I just got baited here. Top Life baited me pretty hard there.
Yeah, me too. I was like, wait, he's going for it. That makes sense. Shovel and K45, but now he turned around and...
Yeah, he's gonna do them both back to back. I will give him the Fire Rod. I will put him in go mode. We're seeing Sab0tender is skipping all the available chests, and Top Life will start off here, checking Cave South of Grove, Cave 45, V-Torp Cave, but in this situation, this is his go mode cave. And now it's a race. Top Life only has one dungeon left. Skull Woods is a very quick one to do. Sab0tender has to go through Ice Palace. Doesn't take that long when you're in go mode, as long as you just get that bomb jump at the first try. But this is a very close race in the end, despite these very different routes that our players have made. I do feel like Top Life is going to be slightly ahead here, as Skull Woods is a much faster clear than Ice Palace even then. And the thing is still that Mofula can decide to be not very nice, and that may draw out the fight a bit.
Yeah, but with 11 hearts, I don't think he'll die on Mofula, or on the way there.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a death here. It's a close race, but the more you're looking at it, the more it looks like Top Life could have a decisive lead, but anything can happen.
There's also still the GT routing.
Yeah, that can always come into effect later on. But we're definitely looking at a very fast seed here for our players. Sab still just skipping checks at Top Life now on the Mofula fight. Oh, does not get that first spin at the start. Getting some unfortunate positions here, and Mofula not being that nice. Will pick up the kill in the end, and with that, heading off to Ganon's tower.
And with that, we are heading to Ganon's Tower, and we have this one little game we like to play on these channels here, and it has started already. There are 22 possible locations in Ganon's Tower where the Ganon's Tower big key could be. Now you can type any number between 1 and 22 in chat for a chance to be entered into winning this small little game. And we'll see where topplife will find the big key. We will close it out just as he enters the tower.
And he is heading there as fast as he can, as Sab0tender has to make his trip a little bit deeper into Ice Palace before he gets to the boss. Well, if Sabo gets a good fight here, it's gonna be quite close depending on these GT routes, and also depending on other things that may happen in the gauntlet.
And if I may so inquire, what will be your guess for the GT big?
My guess is the location where it will be. That way I'm always right. Sab0tender did not quite get closer into the corner, but did get a couple of good hits regardless. Has to be very careful here. Does have a red potion he can use, back to full health. And yeah, this fight did not work out the way he wanted it to, and he's losing some valuable time here.
All puffs down, so he turned it around.
Topplife meanwhile has entered Ganon's Tower, hitting right side first.
Location number 1, 10 arrows.
Well, the small key does open up the right side, and that is where Topplife is going. No, we're not gonna see some crazy shenanigans in the tile room today. Unless Sab0tender decides to do that, which is extremely unlikely, but it could happen. Topplife can also be very liberal here with his magic, thanks to his half magic that he picked up earlier. Well, Topplife still going through here to pick up the small key. Can't really see him continuing all the way over to Ice Armos, and he's not going to do that.
And it wasn't on the torch, so it's 7 down and just 15 more locations to go.
Yeah, unless this is a tile room gamble from Sab0tender and it happens to be there, Topplife is going to be ahead going into the gauntlet. Unless there is some really unfortunate death, or Sabo could go straight right, full super hard right, and just so happens to be behind the Ice Armos.
And we are down to half of the chests. This is number 12.
Well, Spy Cave is now in logic, if you cared about that.
But of course, this is suddenly key sanity, so the key must be there.
Yeah, no. Well, Sabo is leaving. This is going to save him some time. So he will be going left now. Unless he is going for Dark Magician strats.
And chests number 14 through 17 are coming up right here in Randomizer.
There we go.
That was number 14.
And Sab0tender are killing the skeletons here, so he's not gonna mirror out. Will continue. We'll still be quite a bit behind here.
And the very first supporter to guess correctly was Tiareni, if I say it correctly. So congratulations to you. You're now on the leaderboard.
Congratulations for guessing the correct number. Sab0tender will be at the random room soon enough, and topplife is entering into the tough part of the gauntlet here. He's only on 3 hearts though. He's likely gonna take the safety here. Yeah, the bomb is out. He's gonna take the safety room.
Yeah, a death here would be really annoying, and it might mean that Sabo would come back.
Yeah, a death here is almost deciding the outcome of this race. And Sab0tender will actually be opening these additional chests, and we'll pick up 2 additional heart containers from that, which is quite nice. Not so sure that's gonna be a significant difference though. topplife just hoping that the enemies line up. That enemy did not want to line up at all, but does get a nice backup there to pick up the double. Another thing is that he's really saving his magic here, likely going to be a bit more liberal with the fire rod later. And these mimics not working out at all for Sab0tender. It's super unfortunate for topplife being too far away there on the first shot, and you can't have 2 silver arrows out at the same time, but does get a nice 2 cycle.
We are right now in 1 death or 1 fall, and the lead would change territory. So execution is gonna be really high here.
I mean, at this point, there is no routing left, there is no rando left, it's only execution that matters at this point. And some unfortunate enemy patterns there for Sab0tender, topplife. Just using the lamp, lighting up the torches. Yeah, these rooms are not being very nice to Sabo. But Fire Rod does have some interesting recoil at times. And topplife waiting here, he has to be sure he doesn't despawn the tower. That would likely decide the outcome of this race. And Sab0tender with the 1 cycle, making up some time here on the Lanmola's fight. And topplife missing the bomb, has to place another one. That's some costly time for him. And again, 3 hearts. He needs to take the powder out here to get those fairy refills. Well, that looked really weird, but he will pick up the magic as well.
Now on to Trolldorm's revenge.
Well, Moldorm is not being all that nice in that first round, but it seems to have calmed down a little bit. We'll be able to get the relatively simple 2-cycle hit. And ending the seed with a vanilla 20 rupees before making the call to go into Aga 2. Yeah, this is a really close race at this point. Sab0tender is just a couple of rooms behind, as topplife will soon be in this Aga 2 fight, and depending on these patterns and how you line them up and how they work out for you, this could be some big times being changed here. That's a nice double to start it off.
That's a third hit, so just 3 more hits to go as Sabo clears Moldorm.
A little bit early there with the hook shot. topplife got another double, and there we go, a 4th cycle for him, and seems like it's about where you would expect it with those patterns.
And 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 12 seconds as the Ganon leaves the screen.
As topplife here descends to fight Ganon, a win here for leftovers would put them tied with Sphere Affinity and make this a very interesting division. So I think we'll have 4 teams in this group sitting on 9 points, or sitting on 6+ points, 2 on 6, 2 on 9, moving into week 3. But that was a super fast fight for Sab0tender, oh my goodness. And topplife down on 2 hearts here, has to be very careful yet again. I don't know what kind of defensive items he has here. He has the Burna with half magic, and I guess that's it. He has 2 bees. Those don't do anything. And Sab0tender is still coming in here. He's gonna be on full health, has full magic. I don't think he has anything in the bottles. Oh, this is insanely close. toplife's gonna take an unfortunate death, and now Sab0tender is in the lead, just barely ahead. Doesn't quite get that early spin, but he may be able to get Ganon into the early phase 2. No, not quite. Needs another cycle on to get in there, but now topplife is the one who's behind. Sab0tender is in phase 2.
But this might be a blessing in disguise for topplife, as the teleporting patterns will be different.
No. Sab0tender got a fantastic setup there for his phase 2, so you could just stand there and get all the spins off and go super fast into phase 3. topplife also got it here as well, and will be able to do the same to go fast into phase 3. They are both in phase 3, and there's a ton of teleports here that we're seeing, so remember, it may seem like they're very close, but topplife will be experiencing a good amount of teleports here himself. There we go, into phase 4 here for Sab0tender, gets the first silver off, and will use the fire roll here. Oh, and Ganon blocks the second fire roll shot, but he'll be able to set up a double here at least. And the final hit as Sab0tender turns this around for the win!
What a seed, what a race. And just make sure Sabo to not trip over the stairs, and he doesn't, so he's in.
And Sab0tender with the turnaround picks up the win here with an official SRL time of 1 hour 23 minutes 49 seconds. And you really have to feel it there for topplife to take that unfortunate death in the end, as he's gonna finish with an official SRL time of 1 hour 24 minutes 7 seconds, 18 seconds apart.
Wow. That one death, that did it.
And we are now joined by Sab0tender and topplife. Congratulations, Sab0tender and topplife. That's an extremely unfortunate ending there for you.
Yeah, wow, GG's top.
GG's.
Oh my goodness! Wow, what a race! I mean, I was just watching it back here, like, and I'm stressing out.
Well, if we're gonna go back to routing, you just have to ask this to both of you. Why did neither of you check Ice Rod Cave early on?
Ooh, I don't know. I it's one of those locations that I'll orphan like half the time. So if it bites me in the butt, then so be it. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just play by statistics back at that point. Like we just received Dark Hole access, so there's a lot of stuff open. and I tend to do a lot of gambles when I play, so...
So, Top Life, you went into Ice Palace with the Bombos. You got some pretty valuable hints in there, such as the Ether location being on a tablet. Can you tell us how you felt at that point?
Pretty much just thought, yeah, I just need to find the flute and I'll be pretty much fine. But once I got the flute, I was immediately starting thinking about the fire rod, so... But yeah.
And the big route diversion that we saw was you, Top Life, you went into Palace of Darkness. Sab0tender, you went all the way up to Catfish instead with the Smith. Could you give us your train of process, or thought process behind that?
Yeah, you know, it was... I feel like that was a pretty dumb move, because, I mean, Pendant Pod is always something that you should, you know, take a look in at the very least, I feel like. And I don't know, I went over to the ledge and I had the blacksmith with me. I had Jeremiah hanging around, and I was like, I don't know, what am I going to do with this guy? So I decided to just go all the way up to Catfish and then turn in the blacksmith after that. So I don't know, I think it was a silly mistake for me to skip right past it, but I'm interested to hear why Top jumped in right away.
It's mostly because I didn't pick up the blacksmith. I like to have my options open. If I pick that one up, I cannot diverge from my path. If I had taken that one, I would go straight to Catfish too. So it's kind of just going into the pod, just checking the first chest, because we're so far away from saving quit point at that point, so just check the first chest if there's key, continue. And then I was tending to go to Catfish and such, but I got the hook shot, so nope.
And do have someone here in the chat wondering about you opening a lot of additional chests in Ganon's Tower, Sab0tender. What were you looking for there?
I think what I was looking for was I think a bottle with some goo in it, because I think that was the only thing that I was thinking might help me out. You know, going into the Ganon fight with nothing, I wasn't super worried, but there's always that chance that you kind of get bodied pretty quick and you need to pop something. So that was the only thing that I was looking for.
Yeah, the only real item that separated you in the end was that half magic that was also in Paradox Cave over on the right side.
Oh, if I had only, you know, gone over to 2 other chests in Paradox there. I can't believe that Hammer was my go mode. I don't think I've ever had Hammer go. Like, that's crazy.
Well, for you, Top Life, your go mode was the Fire Rod. Was some thoughts here among us here in the commentators booth about you could go there after checking Bombo's tablet, since you did have that Ether hint? Was that a consideration you had at that point, or was it just go get the medallion first and do Mire?
I did consider it, but I was thinking if when I cleared Mire, if it had nothing, it was a better point to start from Swamp again and go up the Village of Outcast and do a lot of those checks that remain behind. So it's just it would be more effective if the checks had come up in Village of Outcast, for instance. It's kind of unlikely that the Fire Rod is just there. That's kind of my thought process. But I did think about it.
Yeah, it kind of just revealed itself to you, Sab0tender, because you had to make that big trip in the Dark World all the way over to Palace of Darkness again to find your hookshot. So you just kind of went a little bit all over the place because of that. But there were still some places you didn't check, let's say Ice Rod Cave, Front of Escape. Neither of you checked those locations, for example.
I think as Top had said earlier, when we got that Dark World access early on, like, you know, there's always a chance, it's rando, there's always a chance that something could be in front of Escape, but when we had so many other places to look, why would you go there? So I think it was a smart call for both of us to skip out on some of those checks when we had so much more of the game to explore.
Yeah, and yet there was still that Sphere 1 flute that is waiting there over in Eastern Palace.
That was really funny. Yeah, I thought that flute might be in there. I don't even know why, but as I was walking through Eastern Palace that first time, I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be in here.
Now, what are just your overall thoughts on the seed, starting with you, topplife?
Well, it was like kind of like every path I just followed, I ended up getting someone or something almost on the last step all the time. So even though my execution was really messed up this game, I kind of felt really good. That's why I went to Fireside in Gans Tower, for instance. I kind of never do that. But I thought like I should still be ahead even if I messed up, because I always got something on every path I took almost the last spot, so it should still be good, was my thought there, so... But that wasn't the case.
And as for me, I don't know, this seed, it seems like it could have been even faster than the 2 times that we put in here. But I think a couple of the little mistakes were me kind of running around a little bit too much in the overworld to get to locations. That was kind of silly, but all in all, I thought I did pretty well. The Ether on Ether tablet thing, we were talking about this in our little SRL chat, and I didn't get the hint that there was something on the tablets. I only got that book hint, and I was like, okay, there's going to be something on the tablets. And then when it was Ether on Ether tablet there, I thought that I was in the clear, and that that was a play that no one was going to make, and that was, so. And then to see this finish come up so close, I was like, wow, I thought I was doing all right. And I kind of missed a couple of steps along the way. But all in all, I think it was still a pretty good seed.
Yeah, just to clarify that, Ice Palace had a hint that Ether was on a tablet and also had the boots hint about checkerboard cake.
Ah.
Or unique item, at least.
Yeah, so that's also kind of one of my mistakes. Like, I knew there was a unique item at checkerboard, and I still went on with the sequence way to Desert Palace. I should have checked checkerboard there first, because there's a huge chance that was the boots. So.
Well, as we're moving forward here, Sab0tender, 3rd win here for Swearfinity, looking pretty good here early on in the league.
Yeah, pretty good start. I was really hoping to bring in some points for the guys, because I had lost our week 1 match, so I wanted to kind of redeem myself. So yeah, so far things are going okay. I'm taking a break next week. P-Train and GFE are going to be doing the inverted action there, so I hope they'll do well. I'm sure they will. Yeah, this whole league thing has been a lot of fun.
Well, that's great to hear. And for you, topplife, and your team Leftovers, you still have a win. I believe you got that in the first week. Moving forward for you.
Yeah, I was kind of just going to relax there, but suddenly, like, my teammates step up so much that it kind of increased pressure on me, because then I suddenly feel I need to perform myself. We were just going to have fun, and we are having fun, but suddenly it seemed like we have a shot, and that wasn't the intention. At least not for me.
Well, there's still many weeks left, and it's certainly a close group at the top now, with Fendrana Drifters, Titan Smiths, and Spherefinity all sitting on 9 points, tying for first. Fendrana Drifters currently playing their second week 2 match over on Speaking 3. I just took a look, and it seems like that seed is going towards its end. That is yet 0-2 versus Shazam over there. So I guess from here we should close this out. So any closing thoughts from both of you, starting with you, Sab0tender?
Just GG's again, topplife. Great race, man. A little unlucky there. I think you should have had this one. And thank you, Marge and Demons, for taking care of commentary. And we had Jex doing tracking, so thanks to him as well.
Yeah, GG. Yeah, thanks for putting up the restream and everything. And
Thank you, after all, for racing. Without you racing, we wouldn't have this race to commentate on in the first place.
If you're the players that are making this league happen again, so we thank you. I thank JexRefi, of course. I thank all of you viewers. And also be sure right now just go over to Speed Gaming 3. The seed is almost over. It looks like it's going to be a really close, nice finish there. With all said and done, I've been Marjet.
And I have been Demons Druid.
And we hope to see you all in the not too distant future.